Get it, and here we go. It is time. This is an opportunity to qualify top 15, punch in the ticket to get in the heats, and it's going to be a very hot affair because this is the game 7 essentially out of the 12, and this is a moment here, an opportunity for people to change their stars, just like the great movie A Knight's Tale. Who will be our Sir Bon Eric Liechtenstein and change their fate, Sundown?
Oh, God, that is a fantastic reference. Absolutely love that movie and The Rise, and it's all about climbing to the top, particularly in Europe, when maybe not necessarily everyone knows your name. However, the action we're going to start with is a well-known, tried-and-true tale that everyone in the land knows, and we even covered a bit yesterday in the epic boxing match, but that's Benji, Savage, and Lecce facing off against Rezon, Noah Riley, and of course the World Cup duo champion, the trio FNCS champion in Season X. That's Cooler Aqua.
And yes, and you know, yesterday the analyst desk compared this fight to a boxing match. But you know what? Let's bring it over the pond, Sundown, and compare this fight to Joust. And let me tell you, a medieval tale from the 1434 days of Lenizy Knight, Sororo to Canones, all right? His men encamped beside a popular bridge and challenged each knight who crossed to a joust. And they wanted to break 300 lances before moving on. They fought over a month, and the battles of this men, they had over 144, and they were injured and they had to stop. So the question is, Sundown, how long will it take Benji's trio to switch spots, or will they stay and try to fight and break those 300 lances? And so far, they've chosen to fight, and the majority of the time, they leave injured or worse, defeated.
Man, I have to give you props. It is very, very, very rare that somebody will break out a medieval battle reference or some kind of medieval battle thing that I don't have any clue or recollection about. So props to you there, being a little bit of a history nerd on my side. But you're 100% right. It applies perfectly here because every single time, regardless of what's happened, this contention has not gone well for either one of these teams. We barely saw last week that Aqua and Co were able to kind of squeeze out the qualification, getting through in that 13th place spot. But Benji, Savage, and Lecce had a real tough day yesterday. They had a tough first week, not making the qualification. However, getting off to a good start here. That's Aqua downed and taken out. They're going to make it a quick 2v1 here. Nice little piece control to get control over the vault, and they're finally going to clear that one out. But it's something we've seen from Benji in particular, but also his teams. They don't necessarily always perform well in the first part of events, whether that's the one-day event in those opening 3 games, or in this circumstance, the first 6 games. Generally, it takes a while for them to heat up.
Absolutely, and we saw that last week. They essentially popped off in that final frame in Game 12, and they finished in 3rd place with about 12 eliminations, and that was a huge point to get them so close to qualifying, and they finished in 16th place. But that is the nature of the hot and the cold of Doom's Domain. You have so many pop-off games in there, 1 or 2, and then you just have a whole bunch of like 30 place finishes. But speaking of a team that's hot, it is Chapix, Queasy, Milan, coming from the 34th place of not qualifying in week 1, and the redemption tale is on. And just like my boy Seek said, they are the vengeance. And it's going to be interesting to see if they are also going to be their night, because correct me if I'm wrong, Sundown, it is about the evening time over there over the pond.
Yeah, it is going into the, I would say, late afternoon, early evening, flipping on over there. A little bit 5 hours ahead of where I'm at right now. But Chapix, Queasy, and Milan, we talked about it yesterday, seeing their back-to-back wins going through the control of the high ground, particularly Chapix, the young Swede, being able to really kind of frag out, and it feels like a return to his old form, someone who performed very well back in the World Cup days with crew going through there and played in the qualifying stages, but he's been kind of an inconsistent player. So it's really nice to see him kind of getting his stride again. I know we talked about it before, qualified in 34th last week, or didn't qualify last week for hitting 34th and losing out on tiebreakers. So the fact that they made it to the big dance this week, and now they're able to push forward. But we're going to hop on board here with Rasco, Artur, and Cammy, which is Reese Hub's prediction.
And taking a look at this trio, this is one of the 8 qualified trios from last week, and they are competing here today. And out of those 8, 5 are currently sitting in today's qualifying 15 spots. So if you were competing and you're wondering, can I get in, you have to go through some of the people that already went through the trials and tribulations. And this is a strong trio. We've been seeing Cammy having those solo clutches and making it to the end game. And in trios, being that solo player and kind of snaking your way through, racking up those placement points is so vital. And that is what led to success for Roxo and Cammy here and Artur. And this is going to be an interesting pick. This is, I feel, like a dark horse pick right here. And they were in striking distance. And if you're taking a look here, this is game 1 of day 2. So you're wondering how there's no points. But don't worry, here at the broadcast booth, we will all do our best to keep you up to date to the cumulative leaderboard stats to see who's going to make it in that top 15. Because that right there is the most important here today.
Yeah, but also don't forget there's some money on the line, even in the qualification stages. So every team is going to be looking to push and try and take away that top prize. So it's not only about bragging rights, but a little bit of the prize money and ultimately making it through to those heats. And one thing I also wanted to touch on is just so we get a little bit of context. Last week, the winners were Rams Keziks, Grizzy 4ZR, and Grizzy Nate. They had 182 points on the back of 1 win and 67 eliminations. So just trying to keep that in mind about who's going to be contesting. Generally, we've seen about low 200s be enough in the typical score for a winning region, unless your name is King and you're down in Brazil.
This is my pick right here, Sundown. Restguard, Stompy, and Scram. They didn't make it in week 1. I thought, that was going to be my original week 1 pick. I put a lot into the, these are, all my eggs are in this basket right here for week 2. I'm rooting for them. I'm hoping they could kind of get it together. They do really well as a trio. It's interesting to see them this far up. Usually they land in the Steamy Stacks area, and now they're going to go ahead and contest Milan, Queasy, and Chapix. And this is going to be a strong contestant, considering that they're sitting on this high ground, this natural elevation. And I've been watching the VODs. I've been reviewing this, and Milan and Queasy, this is where they're going to be vulnerable. This is that chink in their armor, and they could essentially pierce it right now and kind of throw a wrench in their game plan.
Yeah, and we've talked about the ability to kind of game plan against specific opponents and cut off their rotation routes. The reason why this is going to be so tough is it's going to force the Craggy Cliffs team to kind of go north and probably catch a boating route. The issue is that island that you can see them shooting from. That's one of the few viable scavenger routes. There's an upgrade bench over there. I believe there's 12 to 15 possible fishing spots that are looped around that island as well. So it makes it one of the few places that aren't a known POI where you can drop 1 or 2 people and expect to get a desirable loadout. But now we're going to flip on over. Thomas HD, Anas, and Flick trying to close the gap over here. Actually don't see Flick anywhere nearby. So we saw that they had previously gotten it down. They're able to get the revive, get that going on, but it looks like there's Flick coming through in the end. So we'll have an even 3-on-3 with Miro, Swag, and Snap trying to combat week 1 second place team. And we saw a really good performance out of this trio yesterday.
A very strong performance there at 5th place going into this day. And I think here is the changes in the game planning. Flick, Anas, and Thomas HC realizing that Miro, Snap, and Swag here has had this opportunity essentially to get a free ride going into mid-game. And I think this time, this change, this aggression is you're seeing already 2 trios trying to cut off a team that's on fire. And Snap, Miro, and Swag are one of those teams that I believe, I'm going to take a look, did not qualify last week. So, yes, they have a great start, and the chances of them slipping out of the top 15 would be rare.
So they had qualified through to play into the finals, but they didn't get through. They're one of our, I believe it was 11 repeat teams who have qualified both week 1 and week 2. So they played but weren't in that top 15. And they moved away drop spots. It's something we talked about yesterday, where they've been landing down towards Wailing Woods and kind of that southwestern area and trying to find their space there. But now they rotated kind of up to those fishing ponds in upstate New York Now we're going to hop on board here. Flick over on the side. Largely been kind of a little bit more of a backseat compared to Thomas and Anas, who have racked up a lot of the team's individual points through some of their clutch mechanics. Generally, the two of them accounting for about 47 points last week in the second place performance. But Flick says, hold on, Sundown. Let me hold that while Miro holds that pump. Another real good pump burst swap over on the side. 46 damage chasing forward. That's a 90 tag. Looked like he almost wanted to kind of chase through with a pickaxe. Hen's going to be able to get it down. You see that in the Elam feed. But Anas going to be forced back a little bit there by Snap, who is hurting right now, though, Sancho.
There, yeah, definitely. The HP advantage right now is in Flick's and Thomas and Anas right now. These are two teams that did qualify, that did do really well yesterday. And just to bring up, Miro's team did not qualify. They came in 24th, just to kind of back you up there, Sundown. They came in 24th, so they're trying to get in. They're currently sitting at 5th place, and you could still have a great day, and then have a bad day following thereafter. And I think this is going to be the challenge that they're going to have. If Thomas Anas and Flick have decided to go ahead and push them, this is going to be very difficult with them going forward into the next 5 games, as already they're down to one last person. It is Snap, and he is running for his life. He's trying to survive, and he gets toasted. Out he goes, and Flick, Thomas, and Nas, who already qualified, starting off day 2 really strong here in week 2.
Yeah, and sending out that team, we talked about them yesterday, 2 victory royales coming out of upstate New York and being able to really set the tone. However, they were still about 45 points off of that lead pace. So the top 2 teams right now are looking to gain a little bit of separation. That's Queasy, Milan, Chapix, and then our victors from last week, Kezix, 4ZR, and Nate. So far, definitely 4ZR, Nate, and Kezix showing to be the most consistent team out of Europe. But we're on board here. Fury Legendy trying to find an angle right now. Can't necessarily get the shot he's looking for with that charge shock, and he wants to do it from range. Going to be able to get the knock, or that's just the finish onto Razumi. He was able to convert over onto that. Storm Surge is still coming through and providing pressure on the side. Siberia Jake trying to clean up that fight. Instead, that's 4ZR. Nate, we just talked about them trying to close the gap between Chapix and Co. 2 teams out here gatekeeping them right on the edge, preventing them from entering. Storm is at their back. Team is at their front. They're the gatekeepers.
We're seeing the teams that have not yet qualified yet. Again, the top 15 go through. So Slender, Grande, Kiko started off really solid. 2 points right now, picking up 2 eliminations. And the team that they're fighting down below is currently in 20th place. Is looking at 24th place. So teams just fighting, scrapping their way through. And you think about it. Yeah, 6 games, sure, that sounds a lot. But eventually, man, if you get eliminated so early, that's going to test your mental, considering that you had this break, the momentum may have shifted, and now you're dealing with the squad, Akiko, who is knocking on your front door, and just in the distance, you have the team that's currently sitting in 2nd place. So it's so difficult and so scary. Every matchup, every fight that's happening right now will affect the leaderboard. I mean, because I always feel that in trios, it's so volatile.
Yeah, but the one thing to note there, Kezix was the one who actually got one of those down. So just sneaking in the occasional points here, which is something they do best. One Lusha eventually going to get cleaned up there by Kiko, so 3 points going over to this team. But also don't forget, this action is being driven right now by Storm Surge, and if you're generally playing Fortnite, Storm Surge is active in every game, even in the regular solo, duos, and squads playlist. However, it only comes into term when the lobby is so dense. The initial number by Circle 3, if there is more than 70 people alive, the players above that 70 player threshold who have done the least amount of damage to their opponents will be under Storm Surge threat. So now if you look in the top left, because there's 67 players left, Storm Surge has now turned off. And Kiriachi says, doesn't matter, not going to stop my aggression, finds a great snipe on the back of Sick, and that's going to signal the go horn as they begin to push forward.
Kiridachi squad in week 1 finished 20th place, did not qualify, so now they're in an opportunity to. They had a lot of inconsistencies in week 1, and here in week 2, they are being very consistent. They're being very strong, getting a victory royale yesterday, so this is such a strong opportunity for them to punch their ticket into the dance. And I'm taking a look at here just to see they are definitely right now in the top 15 at the moment, sitting at top 10 before this match. But you're seeing the kind of the variety of kits we mentioned, like shotgun, yes. A AR, yes, but what will you carry? And we've seen a lot of our competitors, Sundown, are electing to carry a sniper, and we're seeing why. It's also so valuable, as you mentioned, getting those valuable storm tags that keep the storm surge at bay. And the way it works as well is if you're above it, you're not going to get tagged by it. But if you're below it, you better watch out. And we're about to get very close to that as you're seeing the next available zone. And zones 1 through 4 are going to keep going center. And then after that, we get into our first half in and half out in zone 5. Zone 6, 7, 8, 9 are full rotating zones, meaning that it's going to push all the way into the purple you're seeing in the mini-map. And once it does that, you're going to see the chaos, the purity of Fortnite at its best.
Yeah, and you can see now in the bottom right-hand corner, just zoomed out, but all the players are going to want to pack in for the outside of that white circle. Now we're going to hop over to the teams who are already in zone. You can see our match number 6 winners, and my prediction currently, our 4th place team for this week was in the lower left. You had the 2nd place team right next to them, so both of them have plenty of space. You can see everyone else in the lobby who's kind of stuck over on the far side of the zone right now. They're going to have to make this long rotation, and as you see, so we're coming in on this side of the zone. This is the far east side right now, and this is everyone who has been pushed from that entire way. That's why you saw Anos and Co. having to push upstate New York right away and kind of slide in towards this side. The zone has consistently 3 times in a row this game pulled to the southwest, which means majority of the teams on the map are going to be up in kind of that northeast corner and going to have to rotate past it, which puts Benji, Fishy, Savage, and Co. in the prime rotation path for all of these teams.
And it is the tail, like I said, trying to switch their stars, change them up, and right now they are kind of playing to what they do. Day 2 is when they do best. All we going back to the FNCS duos, Benji has known to heat it up. He just get a little bit better. Maybe the little VOD reviews, the game planning, they kind of get a little bit better. Or no, the snipe play right there. You're seeing Thomas HD, a rising superstar in the EU scene, hitting Lecce right in the grill as he reaches out the window to try to pick himself an apple pie.
And that's what Thomas does best, known for that snipe. You say he's a rising star. I say he's already ascended and maybe on the way past stardom. He's been playing so incredibly well. Recently signed there by Gamma and just showing why he's one of the best in the region. We talked about it a little bit yesterday as well, but in week 1, a large part of their 2nd place was 2 of his victories were solo clutches, one of them being the epitome of that where we started and where we ended meme. But now we're going to see that rotation come out as, again, 4th zone closing Storm Surge is going to be pressuring a lot of these guys. And if you are the target of it, it is 25 damage every 10 seconds. So theoretically, you can start burning utility to try and heal through it. But in reality, you have to go and you have to pressure and you have to look for tags.
The Cryptos right there getting a pressure tag as the storm was pushing in. Down goes a player from Rotary's trio, and that's going to be big. And there's the confirmation right there and the siphon going through. 3 points so far for this trio. It is looking very strong for Sundown's pick. As Shio said, the sun is rising for this trio as they had a great game 6 going in. And Hen popped off on Twitter, and I loving them seeing that the EU scene is kind of waking up there on the Twitter side of things there, Sundown.
Yeah, and we just saw up in the feed, actually, Savage was able to take down Chapix, got the confirm over onto him, so we need to keep an eye, because if Queasy and Milan also go down, it's going to give an opportunity for the rest of the lobby to catch up a little bit, and I'm mainly keeping eyes, again, on Kezix, 4ZR, and Nate. They're the team who's right behind him. Deceptos and Patrick are going to have to be forced to play 2v1 here. 18 trios left. We're under 50 players remaining, so Storm Surge turning off until we get into Circle 7 now. But the next trio to drop will signify the start of our placement points. And after that, every trio that drops is 1 placement point until you get up into the top 3. Top 3 is an additional 2, then top 2 is an additional 4, and first place gets an additional 5. So a lot of late placements in the top 3 spots really being where you want to get to. As we pop back on board, Lecce, Savage, and Benji, you can see 4 elims, so that was the pickup over there. Only 1 going through onto Chapix, which means theoretically there's still that top duo running around right now as they find another on the back of Mr. Savage. That's 5 for the trio.
This is going to be an opportunity for Benji's, Lecce, and Savage to make a statement game, just like in NA East, where Zayt got 2 back-to-back opening victory royales and coming into second place and third place. You know, Benji, Lecce, and Savage have to understand that a Doom's domain is going to be so strong, and they're not going to let the EU scene get away, NA scene get away with that. And this is the strong start we were talking about. These knights are out there, are jousting, and they're doing very well as we enter Zone 6, which is going to be the first full rotation. As you saw for a brief moment, the zone is pulling completely out, and they have to move south. But the good news is, Sundown, they're currently sitting right in front of that pool.
And they're sitting there. They have positioning. Only one heavy bullet in on Lecce. He should be communicating that over to be able to get any access, because the sniper, especially in this situation, boom, there it goes, 29, being dropped over there from Savage. What a pal. But the sniper in this particular situation is a lot more potent than you think, because the people will be opening up these quick windows looking for tags, and all of a sudden those headshots come through. However, we talked about that top duo still being in. Queasy picking up an elim onto YZip, and that's going to signal our placement points coming through. Top 17 is in, so now every trio that's dropping is an additional point. It makes those eliminations that much more valuable, especially when you get the full elims on the trio. And you can see some good tarping right now. Lecce on the backside playing more of the role of the fragger, looking for any edits, and Thomas HD is also still in the picture as he gets it down onto Mexify. We're going to wait for the server to catch up as they continue tarping forward.
Such a beautiful thing. This is what I love about the trio scene. People form these tarps. The layers are kind of forming at the moment. The Tres Leches cake is forming. You're going to have a bottom layer, a mid layer, and height, of course, all in contention. If you're sitting here on mid layer where Savage, Benji, and Lecce are, they have opportunities to send beams down below. And the great opportunity is the zone's going back up north. So this beautiful tarp that Sundown mentioned is going to allow all our competitors to go right through. But as you see, that's the mid layer. Below them is, of course, the low ground, and they have to deal with navigating through those builds. But the ones at up height that we'll soon get a picture of are sitting pretty, because all they have to do is walk all over old builds and can continue beaming down. Now, Puchik and Hen are cooking up right now on the mid layer as Deceptos picks up a 3-piece right then and there and gets a really strong trio who's in our current top 5 here. And look who's on height. It is Mongrel, Mitro, and Tayson.
Mondro, Mikro, and Tayson on hype, but that was so huge from Deceptos and Putrick. We talked about it, the fact that Hen going down, that's a huge part of their clutch factor, but they took out the team who's directly in contention with them. Just one space right in front of them there, and now they're trying to push forward. You can see Kezek's all by his lonesome, but we've seen so many individual clutches coming out. What can he do with this space? And every single additional point he's able to get, and not only is that an elimination point, that's a placement points too coming through from Kezek's, trying to find some more space on the backside of the zone, using the AR and whatever. He still has 64 builds, but not necessarily having to use them, as he's just kind of a rat stuck in a maze trying to find whatever space he can. Crashbag comes through, no threat going on to him, but he has plenty of room right now. 21 players remaining, and that's another point coming through solo from Kezix. As you see, still Mongro, Mitro, Tayson, high ground, uncontested, unthreatened.
And they are starting out the day uncontested. And can they end the game 1 uncontested and be the last trio standing high with the Victory Royale? On your top right is Mongrel, and you're seeing the pressure that he's applying to everybody down below, which is Umpify that you're seeing on your bottom right of the screen. Umpify is doing his best to try to find a moment, a chink in this armor to kind of vault their way up. And once they get a strong tag, then the team up top of Mongrel, Tayson, and Mitro gonna have to watch out, because the shockwaves could come on through. If you're looking on the overview screen, Deceptos goes down. Yanis is on the blow. Refguard is still up. Matzo, Umpify, and ADN, a strong trio, is still up. Andalix is still up as well. A lot of big names in this fight, but the question is, can Mongrel get a victory royale with this trio? Umpify with the 2-piece on your bottom right. He is on fire, as he is the only remaining duo with his teammate, ADN.
And you can see now we're into the top 4 as the challenge for height ends up going out. Umpify is going to end up being knocked by the storm. That's huge if they're able to convert that over. Mongrel also getting the finish onto Janus as we hop on board with the young English Lord. Now you can see 6 teams remaining. They're the only full trio. It's a 3v2v1 with a 2-on-1 being underneath. That one is going to go down there, as is now Cubex and Seti against Mongo, Mitro, and Tayson. So now the question is, who has the HP lead and who has the excess utility? Can you find the gap as we go to the full closure? This is Storm Zone number 9. Seti goes down to Tayson. We're on board here with Mongo, who has no extra heals. So the question is, does Cubex have white HP? If Cubex has white HP and Mongo can't find him, that's the game. And Mongo finds him! Runs back into the storm. Bandage cannon sounds going off. He pops the emote, says, take this victory royale, coming out 34 points in game number 6.
Mongo on top, and that's a victory royale for this strong trio.